Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to our DFY Live Masterclass for Selling PLR. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the box, and I will take them. And I'll probably just cover them after the session is over. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to talk about how to profit and leverage your expertise and your experience to create and sell PLR. And this is going to be a different way of looking at creative PLR because we're not just talking about the process of creating files or going to outsource articles or writing the articles or creating videos. There's a process that goes behind this that's going to be important if you really are going to do this. And so we're going to talk about it from this context. First, we want to talk about understanding what your value is, how that's worth and what it means in the market, and really trying to look at this beyond what you can see. When you go to the market, you're going to see PLR being sold, and you're going to think, well, everything is going to be based on what I can see, how I can fit into that market. And there's more to it that if you can kind of determine what your value is and what you really bring to the marketplace, you don't really have to be bound by what you see in the marketplace. You're really going to be bound by what you can tell the market is wanting. So yes, and to some degree, you do need to see what's actually working. You need to see what's selling. But in another point, you really do have to also understand what it is that you can add uniquely and what you can bring to a market that's going to be looking for something. And so the real world value and potential value of your store of knowledge is probably going to be how you can differentiate yourself. And one is going to be solely based on an audience model. So in other words, what you bring to the market, you can, if you can build an audience, that's going to be the way you're going to be able to create information and be able to generate a profit. So in other words, when you have an audience business model, what you're doing is you're gathering people together. And whether it's a podcast or a YouTube show or some way where you're basically getting people to listen to you or to read you on a regular basis, that's one way to profit from your knowledge and expertise. Somebody wants to hear what you have to say. Somebody wants to read what you write. Somebody wants to hear what you have going on inside of your brain. And basically, that typically is going to mean that you're going to have some exposure in the public eye. When you can do that, I mean, you can sell books and products as a result of your exposure, as a result of your status. I mean, that's one way to sell information. And when you think about it this way, you could share help with people, but that's always going to be secondary to your status. It really is your status and your position in the public eye that's going to bring you the benefit. And the more you can get prominence, the more that you can sell products to the people that are going to be looking for them. And so this is going to be one way of being able to develop your work. And you're going to be selling some kind of advice or information if you can be in the public eye. And so the problem with this is that it's going to be short lived. And when you think about it, it's never going to be based on the value that somebody sees and what they're getting from you. It's going to be based on your status. And so you don't necessarily want to depend solely on your status because that status can be fleeting. You want to be able to kind of do it based on their need to get information and the fact that you can solve it. You don't want to have it solely be based on their connection to you and having to see you in what it is that you're doing. Now, again, if you have an audience and you can gather that audience around things that you say and do, I mean, that's a way to be able to monetize, and you do that with sponsorship. You're not going to do that by giving advice. You're basically going to give people access to the fact that you can gather people together around what it is that you're saying and doing. And so your job really, if you're going to monetize information, is to gather the audience and then to get the attention of sponsors, right? That's one way to take your expertise and to be able to monetize that expertise by getting people to see how you get this audience together. So, I mean, when you have an audience business model, I mean, you're going to share business you're going to share advice in books, in courses, in live sessions, and other things. Now, let's talk about the other way to determine the value of knowledge, inspiration, Let's talk about the other way to determine the value of knowledge. Let's talk about the other way to determine let's talk about the other way to determine the value of knowledge, information, and expertise. Now, the other way to come to the market is to lead with a solution. So in other words, you see something that's happening that's not quite what it should be, and you understand fundamentally how to solve it. And so you come to the marketplace for information, you come to the marketplace for ideas with a solution to a problem that